Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Wulandari Putri Salim and I'm from class 07 SIGE 004 and I will explain a little bit about language and mind. Okay, the first one is the topic language and mind. The topic language and mind explore how language is intertwined with our thinking processes. The learning objectives focus on understanding this relationship through different theoretical lenses. Number one is structuralist perspective. This approach emphasizes how language structures like grammar and syntax shape thought. Structuralists argue that language organizes and categorizes experiences, influencing how we perceive and think about the world. Number two, generative perspective. Proposed by Noam Chomsky, this theory suggests that humans have an innate ability to generate language. It focuses on the cognitive mechanism that allow us to produce and understand an infinite number of sentences, emphasizing how language is hardwired in the mind. And the next, number three, behavior perspective. Behaviorists like P.F. Skinner argue that language acquisition is a result of environmental stimuli and reinforcement. From this view, language is learned through interaction and conditioning, with thought emerging as a response to external input. And the last, number four, cognitive perspective. This approach integrates language with broader cognitive processes such as memory, perception, and problem solving. Cognitivists believe that language reflects the structure of thought and that language acquisition involves mental representation and active cognitive processing. Okay, the next slide is the structuralist framework. Look at how language structures influence our understanding of the world. Here's a breakdown of the key ideas. Number one is Plato. Plato raised the question of whether the connection between words and their meanings is natural, inherent in the world, or conventional, agreed upon by people. For example, is the word tree connect to the actual tree because of the natural link, or because society has decided to call it that? And number two is medieval philosophers. These thinkers propose that reality can be understood at three levels. Number one, things, the physical objects in the world, and the next, concept, the mental ideas or categories we form about those things. And then, words, the language we use to present those concepts. They explore how language connects these levels of reality and help us to understand the world. And number three is Sapir Whorf hypothesis. This idea suggests that the language we speak shapes the way we think. Linguistic determinism urges that language limits or control thought. For example, if a language has multiple words for the snow, its speaker may perceive and think about snow in more detailed ways than those who only have one word for it. The structuralist framework examines how language, thought, and reality are interrelated, with the different thinkers offering perspective on the whether language shapes or reflects our understanding of the world. The next is structural linguistics and psychology. The structural linguistics and psychology explore How psychology theories influence our understanding of language. Here's a sample breakdown. Number one, influence of psychology and structural linguistics. Uh, Number one is the first one is Gestalt. This theory emphasizes that we perceive things as whole patterns, not just individual parts in language, and it means that we understand words and sentence in context as a part of a bigger structure rather than just isolated components. And then Piaget theory of cognitive development suggests that language and thought develop together. As children grow, language helps children organize their thoughts, and thinking influences how they use language. And then Pavlov's works on conditioning show how behavior can be set by stimuli and response in language. This idea suggests that people may learn language through repeat association, like associating a word with an object and or action. And then Watson is a behaviorist. Watson believed that all behavior, including language, are learned through interaction with the environment. He argued that language acquisition is set by external factors like reinforcement. And then Vygotsky. Vygotsky emphasized the role of social interaction in language development. He believed that language is a tool for thinking. And through social communication, children and learn to think and speak. And number two, psychological approach to language and thought. Behaviorist approach suggests language is learned through reinforcement and imitation. Our thoughts are set by external stimuli, and language help us respond to those stimuli. And cognitive approach focuses how language and thought develop together, and as a mental processes, it suggests that language reflects how we think and helps structure our cognitive abilities. And the last, social interaction. Interactionist approach. This approach, influenced by Vygotsky, focuses on the role of social interaction in shaping language, and thought. Language is learned through communication with others, which helps develop cognitive skills. The next slide is Piaget and Vygotsky. The idea for the Piaget, children thinking, cognitive development, compares, and language develop after. And for example, a child first understands the idea of number, cognitive development, and only then can they start to use words like 1, 2, and 3. And the next, Vygotsky, the idea, social interaction and culture play a key role in language development. He also introduced the zone of proximal development, ZVD, which is the space between what a child can do alone that what they can do with help. For example, a child may know how to solve a puzzle, but with the guidance from a parents, they can figure it out. This approach helps them learn new language and thinking skill. In short, Piaget believes language develops after thinking in the place. Vygotsky believes language grows through social interaction and support from others. Okay, the next slide is critique of Piaget. Children with language disorder can have normal cognitive development. Some children may have trouble with language but still have normal thinking abilities. This challenge fidget's idea that language only develops after cognitive skills are fully formed. In other words, language and thinking don't always develop in exact order fidget suggests. And language and cognition are not entirely dependent on each other. Fidgets believe that cognitive development shapes language. However, research shows that children can learn language and think at the same time, suggesting that language and thinking can develop spatially or influence each other in different ways. And the next slide is about behaviorism B.F. Skinner. Skinner believed that language is learned just like any other behavior through reinforcement, rewarding the child for correct language use, and operant conditioning, learning through consequences. Number one is verbal operant. Skinner identified different types of language behavior. And then M-A-N-D. A request, e.g. saying juice to ask for juice. And tact, a label or description, e.g. saying dog when seeing a dog. And then echoic, imitating a sound or words, e.g. referring hello when someone say it. And then Chomsky critique. Chomsky disagreed with Skinner, urging that language learning is not simply about reinforcement. He believed that children have an innate ability to learn language, and that Skinner theory couldn't explain how children create new sentences they never heard before. For example, a child might say a sentence like "I could to the park," which they've never been explicitly taught, showing that language development involves more than just imitation and rewards. In short, Skinner, language is learned through rewards and conditioning, and Chomsky disagreed, believing language is an innate ability, not just learned behavior. And the next slide is generativism Chomsky. Chomsky urges that language is not a biological ability present from birth through the language acquisition device (LED), a mental tool that helps children learn language. Nativism. Language is an innate ability not learned from the environment. And critical period hypothesis. There is a certain period of time in childhood when learning language is easier. Critique of behaviorism and structuralism. Behaviorism. Chomsky opposes Skinner's view that language is learned through reinforcement. Children can produce new sentences that have not been taught. And the next, structuralism. Chomsky believes language is more complex and is understood through innate abilities, not just structural rules. And then Chomsky, language is a natural ability through the LED. Nativism, we are born with the ability to learn language. Critical period, the best time to learn language. Criticism, behaviorism and structuralism cannot explain the children's language creativity. And the next slide, innateness hypothesis and generativism. Generative grammar. This theory suggests that language governed by inherent cognitive structures in the brain. We are born with an inborn ability to understand and produce language which follows certain rules grammar that are hardwired into our brains. And then minimalist model. Chomsky idea that all language share universal principle Despite difference in language, there are common underlying rules and structures that all human language follow. This model aims to simplify the complex rule of language into a few basic principles that apply universally. And in short, generative grammar language is shaped by innate structure in the brain, and minimalist model all languages share universal rules beneath their surface differences. And then the next slide, cognitivism, Brenner, and computational models. Brenner, he believes that social interaction through LASS helps children learn language by getting support from caregivers, and computational models compares the mind, a computer that processes information to learn language. And Searle argued that the mind understands language deeply, unlike computers, which only processes data without true understanding. And the next slide is a conclusion. The conclusion is behaviorism emphasizes social reinforcement in language learning. Generativism highlights the innate capacity for linguistic acquisition. And the next, cognitivism integrates social factors and information processing in language acquisition. And last, each theory offers unique insight into the relationship between language and thought. Okay, thank you, and I will close this presentation, and I do apologize if I have a mistake. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.